Hello, everyone. Just doing another mic test. Can everybody hear me? Cool. All right. Yesterday we had some people who had the elevator music keep playing, so just a reminder at the bottom left, you can disable that. So we'll just get started. There's enough people here, I think. And we're also recording this for anybody who can't make it, so no worries there. So, for those of you who were not there yesterday, I think I recognize some of you who were. Yes, just to summarize what happened, we were made aware by Third Web, who's our major smart contract provider, that we had been using a version of their contracts which had been deployed with a vulnerability from an open source package. So these are the kinds of mistakes that are unfortunately kind of common in the tech world. The good thing is that Third Web acted very responsibly and diligently. They patched up their vulnerability over the last 2 weeks, which is why the Doomsday drop and some of our already prepared drops for the rest of the year are not affected, and we're not in need of a migration. Unfortunately, obviously, as you all went through today and yesterday, all the collections from Spawn Digital series onwards all the way until the Violator Necroplasm drop were affected and had to be re-airdropped essentially to everybody. So as I explained in general chat this afternoon and this evening, all the crossmint based collections, so for those of you who don't know, we use crossmint for all the redemption code based airdrops, but also for some other things. So mainly the Black Adam bust and the Eternal series dragons were not affected as well, so they were not migrated. So I think some of you were confused because you were not seeing them in the hidden tab. That would be why. So do double check your normal viewer tab in your wallets for those. They should be there because we did not touch them. So what does it mean? So what we were instructed to do, and so we're probably hundreds of other projects who use these contracts, we had to essentially lock all transfers from these collections. So what does that mean based on our testing yesterday and today is you cannot transfer your collectibles peer to peer, and depending on the marketplace you're dealing with, you won't be able to list the token. But if you are able to, depending on the marketplace, we tested some let you do it, some don't. Again, it all depends on how transfers come into play when you try to list. Um, but essentially, even marketplaces that let you list on a purchase or a bid acceptance, um, your transfers just will not go through. So your purchaser, if you were to resell the old collectible, will get the same error as though you were trying to send it from your wallet. So those collectibles are essentially just locked where they are for now, indefinitely, until we find some use for them. At the moment, they're kind of equivalent to memorabilia because, as I said, we've essentially replicated all of them and airdropped all of them to the respective holders. So right now, as you're all kind of dealing with this issue of seeing double in your wallets, we've noticed that some things work better than others. So I think the one clear way to distinguish the old from the new um, is by looking at the mint dates. So everything was reminted yesterday. So on the 4th or 5th, depending on which collection you're talking about. So anything that's less than 24 hours old right now is new and is transferable, listable, resellable, everything you've been used to doing so far. Anything that's older than that is part of the transfer lock category of things. So what does that mean for XP? So XP remains untouched. Today, our devs basically just swapped in the new contract addresses for all the collections. We took care of making sure all retroactive XP is still being accounted for, so there should be no issues there. There might be a little blip because of today. The collections were out of sync for about 24 hours, but other than that, as of tomorrow and onwards, XP will just incur as normal. So you should not see any issues there. If you do see any glaring issues, not seeing about like 34% of the XP you should be earning daily, do let us know. We're expecting at least some things to maybe get missed, but we'll be there, and we'll patch it up as we come across things. So far, though, this whole process was relatively seamless. I've had some exposure to other projects who deal with third web and other platforms like them, and I can tell you that we're definitely on the lucky side of things. One of the main reasons why I know some of you were a little frustrated because you didn't hear about it until the very last minute or too late, was because this vulnerability had not been exploited yet. So we actually could not say anything, and we found out yesterday at 9 a.m. Pacific. So first order of business, but we were asked to not share the news because we did not want to inform potential hackers that there was a vulnerability. So while that frustrated you guys, we also could not just do things behind the scenes because that would also have rung alarm bells in some places. So we all kind of had to be very discreet about it and kick off the process when we actually had a time frame we could rely on in terms of an actual announcement being made by Third Web and the other platforms. I appreciate everyone's patience because we also dealt with extremely high gas fees, which again, none of you, that was not for you guys to take care of. But that did get in the way a little bit. I think it looks like we weren't the only ones dealing with that. But again, we had some pretty amazing partners helping us out. So in all, the exception of seeing double in your wallets, you shouldn't have any interruption to the experience as of today. You should still be able to list the new collectibles. Rarible has done the great job of swapping out the contracts as well. Now, the stats on Rarible, our marketplace, for those who aren't aware, will be out of sync for a couple more days. They're working on making sure that previous volume is just tacked on to existing volume of these new collections so that we can actually just see the proper historical trend of everything. Floor prices, I saw some have already kind of recovered on their own since some of you have relisted your items. So I'm actually kind of keen on seeing how those play out. If everybody's on the same page, I think it's a good idea. Some I see have kind of recovered to the we'll call it the migration floor price, but others I think have not been updated yet, which is a bit of a sign, which is interesting to observe from my perspective. So other than that, I'm still working on some quality of life ideas. One of the main ones, as I promised, you will have a page from me on our website that's dedicated to helper links to articles that will help you manually hide the old contracts to collectibles. While that's a pretty tedious process for some, I know some of you have dozens, 20s, or even over 100 collectibles. Right now, I unfortunately have to kind of leave it up to you to decide how you want to manage that. I won't discourage anybody from spreading out the old from the new across new and different wallets. Obviously, there may be trade penalties, but I will just double check with the team if there's something we can do about that. So do bear with me for another day or two while I get some answers on that. But otherwise, we're not going to do a burn after this week because it's obviously a little confusing. This week is probably going to be the last burn of the year, as far as we're concerned. Just so that's one small announcement right there. So we're kind of just going to work through this confusion issue right now and make it better. I'm not going to promise anything just today because I'm still kind of getting my own ducks in a row in terms of what I'll give you guys in the next week or so to make this manageable. But it does fall in line with some ideas we've had internally, which I guess kind of just gives it reason to come to fruition a bit sooner than we thought. In terms of announcements, today would have been a day to announce that we've got some holiday-related prizes going out to certain holders. So unfortunately, I know this is a bit of a dampened mood for that kind of announcement, but there are some coming this and next week. So do keep an eye on your email inboxes. We also have some other quality of life improvements and seasonal related things coming in the next 2 to 3 weeks that were completely unrelated to this, and we've been working on these for a couple of weeks now. But yeah, so I'll leave the floor open to questions. As it stands, this is kind of how things are. If you still feel frustrated or disgruntled about the whole process, I can totally understand. This was also kind of sprung on us without much heads up to mitigate the whole negatives of this process. But we do appreciate the patience and you guys bearing with us. And I personally am very thankful for all the compliments. But again, like this was very much a industry effort almost at that scale. I was kind of just a click monkey. A lot of better engineers did a lot of good work to make this pretty seamless for us. So there's definitely a lot of kudos that need to be sent back out there into the industry. But for now, I'll open it up to questions. So if anybody has some, feel free to drop them in chat. You can also ask to come on stage. I think we're not going to let this run too late, as I'd like to get back to some of this stuff for you guys. But I can let a couple people come on if you guys have some verbal questions. Let you guys come up with your questions. Also, just a reminder, this is being recorded, so feel free to share this on with your friends who may not have been able to attend. So the job is still on, as far as I can see. I think sentiment's good enough to keep it on. The deadline, we pushed it to tomorrow, Wednesday the 6th. So the burn deadline, I'll extend that one to 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, just to give everybody more time to get used to getting around their collections on their wallets. So I'll post a little reminder of that after this call on the announcement channels. So it is safe. However, we tested that ourselves today, and it looks like burns are also included in the transfer lock. Now, that actually goes against what I was told would be possible yesterday by Third Web. So I've sent the question over to them, because obviously that would be very beneficial to everybody to just be able to burn. But I'll ask them, and we'll see. I'm still waiting on an answer, but from our last test that I did actually with VL here, it didn't work. It just, as expected, technically it's a transfer, so it was blocked. So it does work as expected, just unfortunately not for burns right now. So there'll be more on that hopefully in the next day or two. Will we make an announcement about losing XP or not if we decide to move our good collectibles to a new wallet? So that's kind of why I'd like you guys to wait, because today the team kind of just worked on migrating things on the back end. And if we're able to offer up something like that, I'd like to just be sure. So tomorrow morning it's on one of the first items on my agenda to look into that kind of stuff. But it is an idea, we've thought about it. So we'll get back to you on being able to transfer that penalty free. Yeah. But otherwise, yes, sorry, for Holy, I didn't really answer your question. It is safe to burn the gold copies, you just can't do it. Oh yeah, so it is completely safe to keep existing wallets. That was one of the reasons we had to, well, quote unquote, nuke the old collectibles, or at least at the contract level for those collectibles, because all we know is that the vulnerability had to do with the way that collectibles are transferred. We're apparently going to hear more in the coming weeks to actually know what the intricate mechanics were like for that exploit. Because again, this was found in a routine audit apparently internally, so at one of our partners. And again, the people who are responsible for maintaining that software are part of the open source community. So it surprisingly didn't take that much time to get everybody in order to fix it. But yeah, so it is safe to keep them there. So your wallets are safe. This was more about the collection itself. And there was, we were asked to do this because they wanted to mitigate any chance of any kind of transfer based exploit from occurring. What's the team doing to prevent this from happening again? So, well, the thing is, we don't actually develop smart contracts. So we do rely on our partners. So at this rate, given how they've responded, I can say I'm pretty confident in our partners who are working on smart contracts. Um, so I would say the best answer I have for you on that one is my faith is pretty high right now in our partners. We will get a full report and postmortem, which I'll very gladly share when we have it. So while we also need to be aware of the fact that this project is not even a year old technically, at least in a launched state. So this is definitely a good point to keep in mind as we get into our second year and approach our first year anniversary next year. So this is definitely a good topic to keep in mind because the IP we work with is obviously AAA, and we need to make sure that we're on top of everything. So personally, what I'm going to work on over the next year is to have some of these routine check-ins with our partners. They already hire some of the best engineers in the world, so I'm very confident. Any kind of questions thrown their way is going to be answered pretty quick. Even before this, a lot of the questions thrown their way was answered really quickly and in a very detailed way. So we'll put in place some systems and processes like that. Though I can assure you guys, so far, with Third Web in particular, there hasn't been any issues. Um, the Nightfall collection still says 660 items. Do you know when it will be updated to reflect the actual numbers? Wells, are you talking about on the marketplace? And yes, that. So that was actually a bit of a lingering task on my end, and there was actually a chance that this migration was going to get rid of them, but unfortunately, because those were pre-minted and not lazy minted, they weren't burnt. But that is an item that I self-admittedly have to get to. Yeah, they're currently held in the creator wallet that creates the collections, but yes, they will be. Sorry, I'm just trying to find where I was. So I have to manually go in and hide the old NFTs and then hide the new NFTs in OpenSea. In MTD, the new collection is what is shown. Just want to be sure. Yeah, so on the marketplace right now, you are only seeing the new legitimate collections that are not nuked. The old ones are no longer visible in our marketplace on McFarlane OpenSea obviously is not a partner of ours, and they're a bit more of an open marketplace. If you go there, you can probably still see the old ones and the new ones. But obviously, like I said, on OpenSea, if you try to transfer in any way or sell in any way, an error will happen at some point and no transactions will be able to go through. But I would just recommend, for the avoidance of all doubt for the next week or so, just stick to our marketplace. And on OpenSea, if you do have to go there, or if you want to go to another DApp that does do this kind of stuff, just be aware if you do post something, be sure you're using the new collection. I'll post also a page with the new collection addresses for those of you guys who are like at ease with using collection addresses. And so if you're ever listing something, just make sure you're using that one or the right collection so that you're not actually accidentally listing a non-transferable one. Also audits. Like I said about steps with our partners, we haven't been around long enough for an actual audit. That's a question that's a little bit above my pay grade in some regards, but I think after this, we're probably going to get at least 1 or 2 questions around this topic, and I would be surprised if we never go through one. Let's put it that way. What about burning extra mints? If JPabs are talking about the 660 for Nightfall, I think I answered that one. If you meant something else, I think you meant that, but yes. Is it safe to list and transfer now? Yes, it is from the right collection. So if you want to list, just list it on our marketplace. You're only listing from the right collections. Any chance of implementing delegate XYZ for an extra layer of security? Good question. Definitely part of a good conversation as part of a retrospective for this. Yeah. At the moment, we're doing end of year planning for next year as well. So I'm very open to considering new ideas for next year. Yeah. Yeah, they are. Everything that's in your hidden folder, if it's from us, it is, yes. Yeah, if you have any other kind of junk from other collections or projects in there, that's in your own risk. But yes, any McFarlane stuff in your hidden tab right now is definitely from us. Though again, double check the addresses. Again, I'll post a page with the list of all of them, and you'll be able to cross-reference. Okay. Well, then we'll know. Thanks to you guys. All right. I think that's well. I mean, that's it for me. Obviously, this might be a little brief, but that is the gist of it. It actually went by quick, well, not quicker, but better than we all kind of thought when we heard the news. But yeah, if there's any other questions, again, please don't hesitate to drop a message. We'll answer them as we can. Do bear with me for a day or two as I come up with some ways to improve this for you guys. But right now, unfortunately, yes, just a reminder, you may have to go and unhide, like re-hide your collectibles from the previous collections, unfortunately. As it seems like that's the simplest way to go right now. So do bear with me. I will get back to you guys on any burning questions for, so burning as in burning a collectible, not burning as in impatient. But I'll get back to you guys on the burning topics for these deprecated collectibles once Thurgood gives me an answer. Otherwise, do bear with us. Like I said, there's going to be some interesting things announced in the coming weeks. Hopefully we can put this interesting 24-hour chapter behind us pretty quick and move on to a pretty cool year next year. So that's everything. Everybody have a good evening and good luck on Thursday.